It's so beautiful to have you across the screen from me again.
I know.
Yeah, we were working like this together with the wider group, but for 10 weeks in a row, with you doing my Healing Birth Practitioner training course. And every Thursday evening, New Zealand time, which was your Thursday morning over there in Spain, we would get together for these interactive Zoom calls. And man, it's always just quite a shock on the nervous system or some piece of me when those courses finish. And that Thursday is suddenly bereft of this amazing group of women who I get to hang out with for 10 weeks in a row. So yeah, it really is beautiful to have you across the screen again from me, Amber. We struck up a pretty special friendship, like just so many
Yeah.
connections between the two of us that, yeah, it felt just so right having you
Mm,
on that course. But let's hear a little bit about, so cute. If you are watching, you'll see what I'm talking about right now. But if you're
right.
listening, there is the cutest little kitten trying to crawl up Amber's chest,
Oh, that's
and play with her microphone. Yeah, so yeah, let's have you share with us, Amber, a bit about who you are, how you got into birth work, what your background is. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here. And also, yes, you might see the little cat jump up every now and then, who's also happy to be on this interview with you, Carla. Um, and like, I just want to kind of go back to what you said in the beginning because it was so special to be on this training with you. And I also felt such a deep bond with you that I was a bit sad when the weekly trainings ended and I wasn't seeing you as much anymore. So this is really special to come together here in this space and time. Well, a tiny bit about me, really briefly. I have a very eclectic background from the sciences, biomedical sciences, which I bring into a lot of my work. So I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, which was like previous life. And then that has been woven into all of my current work, which has been over the last couple decades. My background's very mixed, and so now with women's health, I focus specifically on pregnancy and birth and postpartum, and I do childbirth education, and I also train yoga teachers how to work with pregnancy and postpartum, and I run pregnancy retreats as well. So all things birthy, I love and am consumed with.
Yeah, and I know a little bit more about your story, and I felt like this was another one of those like, wow, we really have these um interesting synchronicities or like similarities in our background and what brought us into birth work. I know that you're also mum to a girl. Is she 10, your daughter?
Yes, she's 10,
Yeah.
10 going on, I think 17.
Yeah.
It's such
And
a fun
like
age.
me, I we both had really positive, beautiful birth experiences.
Yeah.
And here we are getting stuck into work that's around birth trauma that often attracts people who have experienced a traumatic birth themselves. And they're like, I want to be doing something to help others who've been through what I went through or prevent others from going through what I went through and that sort of thing. But yeah, it seems that you and I both came from this sort of have a bit of a different origin story in that regard, in that we know how birth can be and should be. And yeah, this kind of desire to help people to overcome when they've had a difficult birth experience and find what they need to learn in order to set themselves up for a positive next birth experience comes from a place of knowing how important that birthing experience is, how amazing it can be, and how important having coming out the other side of birth and having that empowerment, that sense of like, look what I can do. Like, look how amazing my body is. And look what happens when I work with my intuition and trust myself. That sense of like like trust in yourself, trusting in your instincts, believing in your body's wisdom really sets you up for the struggles of new motherhood because it's a tough time for anybody,
Yeah,
right? And so when we see women coming out the other side of birth on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from that, it's like far out. That must just be nightmarish to begin motherhood feeling so much like, a sense of failure or like my body didn't work how it needed to, or I wasn't strong enough, or I needed the doctors to rescue my baby from my faulty body.
yeah.
Yeah, it's devastating. So I know when I heard some of your story, your origin story, how you got into birth, you came into this in the same way that I did, into birth work with a really kind of beautiful outlook on what birth is and how it's meant to be, and yeah, um, learning that it's not like that for everybody it was quite confronting.
Yes, I can echo that so much that actually maybe I was even a bit naive because I never was around birth very much. I was not surrounded by birth. I don't have any sisters. I only grew up with brothers, and I didn't have relatives that were living nearby. I also became a mother quite late in life, so many of my friends had already given birth, and I wasn't part of their process really. So I didn't have a lot of preconceived ideas about birth, and I just knew the type of birth that I wanted, and I wanted a home birth, and I ended up finding an amazing midwife, and I had an incredible team. My midwife was Red Miller, by the way, in Singapore, and she was fantastic, has left the biggest impression on me in my life, and I'm so grateful for her. But I had such an incredible experience of birth that was very positive and very empowering, and I got in touch with my deepest resilience through that process, and that's what carried me into motherhood. And then sometime later, I was really shocked and surprised and confronted to realize that my experience was very rare.
Mm.
Is quite rare according to all the stories subsequently that I began to hear about birth and what women were experiencing. And I couldn't believe it. It was really surprising to me, and I felt quite naive that I didn't realize this prior. And so because of that, I it like fueled this fire in me of wanting somehow to hold a space that women can find themselves and can find their own empowerment and find their choices that they can make, the choices they do have, and then hopefully prepare themselves for a different birth experience. Not that we can control birth, but we can definitely stack the cards in our favor and we can prepare ourselves so that we can let go and then feel empowered with whatever outcome is there, hopefully. So yes, it fueled the fire for me to come into birth work. And it's true, I'm coming from the other side of this where I had a really positive experience. I
Yeah.
know what it can look like.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
in part perhaps answers that next question I have for you. But you might want to expand on it. What drew you to explore doing the healing birth practitioner training? Yeah.
Yeah. This because as I was sharing in the intro, I'm now running pregnancy retreats. Where women come on their own who are pregnant and we spend 5 days together, and it's amazing work that I love very much. And often I'm having a lot of first time mamas come, but there are often second time, third time mamas that are coming. And when I started to hear more of their previous birth experiences and why they were attending this retreat for this current birth, it became so clear how prevalent birth trauma is, and these quite horrific experiences that women have gone through and that they've just kept to themselves. Often they've not sought any help for it or support in any way. They're just carrying it themselves, and then it comes up again when they are pregnant with another birth. And so they're holding a lot as they start to walk down this path. And And this was coming up more and more for me. And also, as I teach prenatal movement, the same thing. Second time, third time mamas coming in when I would start to hear about their previous experiences. And I started to realize how prevalent this is. And so that was my inspiration where I thought I really would love to gather more tools so that I can hold a more equipped space for these women and maybe there's something in my listening self that can be a beneficial benefit for them to be able to work through whatever they need so they can close that chapter and allow the next birth to be its own unique story. And so that's when I found your training, which I had watched for a couple of years. I don't know if you remember, but I had reached out to you several years prior and like I'm watching this training, I want to come, I'm interested. And so I kept waiting until it was everything aligned and I was so excited when I could finally study with you and do it.
Beautiful. Yeah, share with us a bit about your experience of doing the training and if there are any sort of standout experiences of doing the training that you're keen to share. Yeah, I'd love for you to do so.
Well, I will start with the email that I
Yeah,
sent you because
yeah.
I asked you this question really humbly. Is there anything that I will learn on this training that I don't already know? Not because I know everything, but because I've just been immersed in the whole birthing world for quite a while now. And I was curious, will there be things that can add on to the skill sets that I already have? And you said yes, I'm sure that there's going to be some things that are there for you. Try it and see. And I'm so glad that you encouraged me to still join because I feel that this training put everything together for me. It made it really cohesive so that I had confidence to then start making these offerings to offer to do the unraveling the birth trauma sessions. It was the confidence piece. And I say this because your course was structured really well in a very holistic way. I feel that we went through we fed our mentality, like we gained knowledge. We also worked with our own emotions. We worked with our own trauma, which I'll come back to. Then we got the practical tools. We learned about all the different interventions, and I think that's such an important piece to know. Like, what are some of the concepts that we would be working with someone when they're sharing their birth story. So we gained all these pieces, and then importantly, the tools on how to work with someone to help them to unravel what they're going through and to find these methods or modes of healing. So I felt the course put everything together in a really wonderful way that also had a lot of interaction in it and accountability, which for me is important for an online course, that there's some accountability every week. And we definitely had that through the homework assignments and the things we handed in. And I don't even remember the exact question you asked me in the beginning, but I'm just sharing that this course was fantastic. And I feel that it gave me confidence. It gave me confidence to start sharing. And could I add one more piece onto this? Is that I think that confidence came because of the first week's assignment, week one. And this is where we were exploring our own trauma. And as I shared just a while ago, I don't have birth trauma. I had a beautiful birth experience. But in that homework assignment, I dug deeper into something from my past from nearly, well, almost 20 years ago, and something that I had never written about and explored in the way that you prompted us with the questions you gave us. And I feel like that week opened something profound in me. And I've been trying to reflect on what was it, because I've been working on a healing journey through that trauma for a long time, but something else shifted. And I believe it was using the tools that you gave to change the perspective on how I saw myself going through that experience. And it provided a really key piece of healing for me. And that shifted something in how I can hold space for others and believe that simple tools can offer a doorway to healing, that I don't have to be a counselor who's had 15 years of experience, or I hold a master's in psychology, or, I don't need that. That was my worry before, that I couldn't do these sessions because I wasn't qualified. Yet that week one, the very first assignment showed me that actually less is more sometimes, and simple tools can be really profound when they're given in the right context and the person is maybe ready to receive them. There can be pretty profound shifts and changes that are there. So it was a personal shift for me that grew into the confidence that I feel like, okay, yes, I can do this and hold this space for others.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that,
Mm.
for sharing that now, but also for sharing that homework piece with me, because you do have the option of just sharing with me reflections on how you felt, writing your story and doing the tool attached to that. But you chose to share your story with me, and that first week, along with you guys, with my cohort of trainees, I'm kind of thrown in the deep end too, because I'm invited into these stories of deep wounding. And it's a real honor and privilege that I hold very dearly, that people feel, I guess, open enough, safe enough to share with me their stories. But yeah, isn't it beautiful? And your story speaks to one of those things that we talk about a lot on the training, which is we're all our own healers. As people who hold space for somebody to share their story and to unpack themselves, unravel themselves, um, we are also opening up the door for them to access their own inner healer. So this work isn't about I hold the power and I have the keys that will unlock your ability to heal. It's just inviting some explorations of self. It's just offering some opportunities, some tools for like, here, if this feels like it could be helpful for you, if you're open to doing so, give this a go,
Mm.
and see what comes up for you, So yeah, it was a beautiful example of just that. So
Mm.
thank you for sharing.
Mm.
So yeah, near the end of the training, the last homework piece or the last assignment that you're required to do in order to complete your certification is what I call a practice client session. It's a bit of a misnomer because there's nothing practice about it. It's the real deal. You're
Mm.
set up with somebody who has volunteered, has put their hand up to have an unraveling your trauma session with one of my soon to be graduates from my course, in exchange for their feedback. And uh, it's always a bit of a challenging time for my students at the end of the training where it's like, oh my goodness, like, am I ready for this? It's sort of a bit scary, a bit daunting. Um, and it's always a really exciting time for me because I know I've done this enough times. I've had enough people through the training to know that, yeah, on the other side of um, taking that leap of faith and trusting that you do know, you do have the skills and the heart and the know-how to be able to guide somebody through an unraveling your trauma session. That on the other side of that, it just feels so epic. It feels amazing to feel like you can make that bit of difference in somebody's life. I would love for you, Amber, to share what your experience was like of holding that first unraveling your trauma session.
Yes. Well, I was so happy this was part of our assignments because I know myself that if this was not part of the assignment, I probably would have put this off a really long time, and then maybe that confidence would have been diluted over time as well. So I was so glad this was part of the assignment. And then as you know, I booked my session for the very next day after our course ended. So it was like right away. And also what was interesting to me is when I put the just a really simple share out that I'm opening up for a practice session for, a session on donation I would like to try as the last part of the certification. I was surprised I had many women reply to that. And in fact I had four bookings instead of just one. And that also was just something I noticed that made me just feel really good in my heart that well, first of all, I know there's a real need. That was really clear for these sessions. And then also that people already would feel comfortable to do something with me. So that was really positive for me to feel and to see. My first session went incredibly well. It was so smooth and felt not very natural, and I would even say, well, easy is not the right word because we had to go into some deep places, but it was fluid. It was very fluid and felt natural. And I feel that everything that we learned in the training, and especially seeing you do a session and then the tools that we had and the guidance we had, I was very well set up for holding this space for this woman. And I can only say it was really positive. Her shifts that she made in it were really profound. The tools that we selected intuitively were the exact right ones that she resonated with and needed. And afterwards, some days later, I was in touch with her again, and she just said that she had some really big shifts from it and was so grateful we did that. And she happened to be pregnant again. And so we also did a planning your healing birth session as well about 1 week later. And that one also was super. And I feel that she really walked away with some tools and a birth plan and preferences that she wanted. And if I speed this story up a little bit, as she gave birth to this baby already, and I've heard from her since then, and she said that all the work that we did helped her to feel so empowered with the outcome of her birth. And she didn't get her plan A, she got her plan C, but she said she felt so empowered through that and felt so confident in that. Her biggest takeaway, which gives me chill bumps now, is that she said she doesn't have any what ifs because she knows that she did her best. She did her all in healing the previous birth trauma and then preparing for this second birth, that she did everything she could. And then that is the piece that gave her so much confidence and so much like feeling proud of herself, even with her plan C birth.
Mm.
Um, so it was wonderful, wonderful experience. And since then I've done a couple more sessions as well, and they've all gone really well. They've all been very different from each other, which is also wonderful to see. And I learn so much with each one, and I feel my own self growing with each space that I hold as well. So yeah, I look forward to doing more.
So that's so great. And you're so right. Like it is important to just, yeah, give it a go. Bite the bullet, just back yourself, trust yourself and do it because the confidence does wane with time. I talk about that with the group, how, you know, you're going to feel a bit nervous and that's okay. Like I'm here to give you a pep talk if you need it.
Mm.
But just, yeah, just do it because
Yeah, I've really appreciated that about you as well, Carla, because many times on the training you told us, if we need a pep talk that we can reach out, or if we want to go over some of our intake forms with you and we're not quite sure how to handle an upcoming session, that we can reach out. So I've never felt alone in this work either, which is this is quite rare, I think, to do trainings and your mentor really truly mean it, that they're there for you even outside of the training. So I really want to honor that for a moment because you're quite special in this way, and I feel like that's also part of the confidence that I have, is knowing as I go forward and I grow with this work that I don't have to be alone, that I can always reach out to you, and there's support for me as I also support others.
Absolutely. Look, like I appreciate your gratitude and I extend that back to you as I do with anybody who engages with my training. Is, I'm one person and I feel like I've got this good formula for working with women um, that really helps. And there's such a great need. And I just feel so strongly that the more people who are willing to engage with this learning and invest themselves in learning these tools and understandings and techniques, I'm just so grateful because it means that there's just more uh, informed people to be able help to help the cause to change the story for well, it's not just the women we work with, right? Like it's changing countless stories because there's such ripple effects of this work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I always see that this is generational work. It's not only one individual. It's like the pebble goes into the surface of the lake and the ripples extend out and there's many who will feel the imprint of it. And this is also part of the personal reward of working in this space to me is to know that it has this rippling effect downstream and upstream as well, even towards our relationships with our mothers and our ancestors. And yeah, it's pretty profound work that's here.
Yeah, yeah. Apart from providing specific unraveling your trauma sessions, planning your healing birth sessions with future clients, how do you think the uh, learnings you've taken away from doing the training are going to influence your work more widely, if at all?
I, yeah, already I have seen such an influence from this work in what I'm doing currently. So, for example, when I'm holding retreats and I'm having discussions with the women on the retreats, and it can be one-on-one discussion or it can be group discussion, and I'm hearing the things that are being said. I feel I'm there also holding space the exact same way that I would hold space in a unraveling your trauma session or planning your healing birth session. It's the same essence. It's the art of holding space and being able to listen with your whole body, to listen to understand rather than just trying to ask questions or steer something. It's really allowing people to show up as themselves, who they are right in that moment, and meeting them with full presence, two embodied spirits meeting. And I feel that even some of the tools from the training can come through. For example, when they're sharing about birth or even asking questions about the choices they have along the way, there's a lot of what we discuss in the training that can easily come through and filters through and how I'm answering questions and the guidance that I might be sharing if someone's asked for it. And then outside of birth, I also see the influence from this course. Even one example is just last week, I was invited by a dear friend to share a movement session with her to help her process some very, very deep grief that she's going through. And again, I found myself there holding space for someone to unravel their trauma on their terms. Not me doing anything. I wasn't doing. I just was there holding the space for them and guiding the movements, but the feeling that was there, and then how we interact through the session and after the session, and it's all related. So this course I feel was not only for holding one-to-one unraveling your trauma sessions. It was actually much more than that. One, it was for me, my how to hold space for myself, and then it's also just in general how we can show up with full presence to others and let our presence invite them to meet their self, to meet themselves it's just through our presence, the way that we hold that space with them. So it extends way beyond the context of birth, and I can see that even in my own family, I can also see how this value, this characteristic comes in, or this quality comes in to the way that I relate to my daughter. Um, yeah, so it definitely goes beyond the context of what just the training is about.
Yeah, we do quite a lot of like self-exploration work in those first couple of weeks. It's not
Yeah.
just um, healing our own trauma that we talk about, that homework piece around writing a story of trauma. If not, if you haven't had a traumatic birth story, then I invite you to um, consider, is there some other traumatic life experience that you'd be willing to write about? Um, so it's not just that, it's also looking at where our biases lay, the unconscious often beliefs that we hold that will eke out in unhelpful ways when we are listening to somebody's story, when we are holding space for somebody, if we don't bring them to the surface and become mindful of them and be aware, because we all hold biases. It's not, um, nobody can, you can't get rid of your biases. They are a product of your life experiences and your beliefs and what your conditioning has been and those sorts of things. But we need to be aware of them in order to be able to be mindful that we're not putting our stuff onto somebody else's story. And it would be very easy in this role if we didn't have that self-knowledge, if we hadn't done that self-exploration, to absent-mindedly to like cause somebody's trauma to feel more exacerbated, like more intensified. Like we could do more harm than good if we are not aware of these biases that we might be holding.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's not just about doing the work for like doing the learnings around what is birth trauma, what's causing all this trauma, how does birthing physiology work, how are these interventions and fear and things like that interfering with that physiology, and what does that mean in terms of like outcomes for the woman, like perhaps struggling to bond with her newborn or feeling a sense of failure or self-doubt and those sorts of things. It's also about understanding ourselves better and yeah, going on our own little healing journey and self-exploration journey. And I have heard this from a number of people who have come through this training, that it hasn't just been a skill set that they've learned that they can apply in their role as a doula or a midwife or a childbirth educator or somebody who wants to work with people around birth trauma. It has been big for them on their own healing journey. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting for me, that warms my heart, that it's
It
like,
is.
yeah, these beautiful people who are wanting to make a positive difference in others' lives are also receiving for themselves
Yes.
yeah, through that process.
I agree 100%. And I think that's so wonderful, this course that you've put together. You really do have a formula that's quite reproducible. It's easy for you to translate it to us. I mean, you've refined this now over many years. So uh, I feel that the translation of your knowledge and experience was very easily accessible. And I think if anybody is considering at all, should I not do it? I would 100% say yes, go for it, because the more people that can be out there doing this work, I think the better. It's so needed. Like I don't have the same naivety anymore. Now I see what a scale that birth trauma is, and it's so interesting because often women don't even think they are included in that. No, I don't have birth trauma. But then when you hear their experience, like, yes, you were bullied, you were coerced, you were disempowered, you weren't listened to, you were forced into this or that. And I realize how rampant it is. And there's a really huge need to be able to hold space for these women so they can call pieces of themselves home and find that wholeness again and be able to feel that vitality in themselves as they move forward in life. So I would absolutely recommend this course to many to do. I'm really grateful for it.
Oh, thank you, Amber. Yeah. So it was so special having you through the training. Oh, I just remembered actually there was this beautiful another little moment of like synchronicity or coincidence, whatever we want to call it. But on the first night of the training, the first night that we all met each other, the group of I think there was 12 of us, um, I put you into breakout rooms with one other person, and it was randomly assigned by, Zoom. So that you could get to know each other a little and then come back to the group and introduce each other to the rest of the group. And it just so happened that you were matched up with Miranda, who just so happened to have also lived in Singapore and just so happened to have birthed her baby in Singapore with the same midwife that you had at quite a
Mhm.
similar time. Like your children,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, this is so wild. And I haven't seen her in probably 10 years, if not more. I don't know, a long time. And amazing, I think she's living somewhere in your neck of the woods. She's over there somewhere, I think Australia or
in
New Zealand,
Auckland.
right?
Yeah,
No,
in New
okay,
Zealand.
Auckland. And then I'm in Spain. And so this was also a big surprise for me to see that. And it was a wonderful synchronicity as well. And then to realize, yeah, that we've had the same midwife and we have a lot of the same connections and circles. And yeah, that
So
was
did
really
you
nice.
actually know each other as well?
Yes, we knew each other, but I think we only met in person maybe once. I'm not even sure. I mean, it's really been a long time ago. So that was just really, we knew of each other, I think, because we all kind of travel in similar circles, but we have not been in contact. We've never been in contact. So that was really amazing to find that we were here on the course together.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Miranda is a doula in Auckland. Ah, well, it's been really, really special having you here tonight, Amber, getting to chat with you again. I want to come over to Spain and run some retreats
Yes.
with you.
Yes, come over. That would be amazing to do that. I have a feeling there's more work we have to do together in the
I do
future.
as well. I'm sure there is. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Well,
And
thank you. And thank you for your time and just for everything that you've provided for us. I feel so excited about this new chapter in my work and my offerings. It just feels like a very natural segue and a natural fit to what I'm doing already. And I couldn't be more excited about it. So thank you for being a part of this and helping this new door to open.
oh, thank you, Amber. I'm loving seeing the work that you're doing over there on the other side of the world. But it's yeah. Um, So, yes, lucky women who get to work with you. And I will leave your contact details, your Instagram page, your website in the show notes for anybody who's listening or watching Amber here and is like, oh, I want to find out more about doing one of her retreats or working with her. So, yeah. All right, Amber. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You have a beautiful rest of your day. And oh yeah, another coincidence. Amber and I both enjoy a bit of boxing for
Yes.
fitness. And in the hour before our interview, we were both doing a boxing training. I would have thought,
Amazing.
right? These gentle, compassionate, peaceful birth workers. Yeah, finding joy in fitness and boxing.